What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about the new gameplay for Phantom Blade Zero. Now, about a day or two old at this point. IGN India actually got this footage first, and it was shown off on their YouTube channel, and then IGN's. About 22 minutes long, and the game is just looking phenomenal. Like, I was considering maybe watching this along with you and kind of pointing stuff out, but I just honestly, firstly, appreciate just this is like minute to minute. We've seen like the enemies, some of these enemies before, the final boss and the multiple stages of the final boss. We've seen that before, so it's not like 1,000% new stuff, but it's putting everything together. It's putting it in a really nice condensed format where it's like, okay, how is this game going to operate? You really shouldn't have many questions. I mean, you have like item and weapon switching going on in this. You get multiple different enemies. You're walking, from point A to point B, handling different situations and just like minute to minute gameplay mechanics. And so just literally the structure of how it's set up, I very much appreciate. And by the way, kind of refreshing, is it not? Like, this game doesn't come out till next year. And the stuff that we're seeing, like a Marvel, and not to throw it under the bus, but like Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, game I'm really excited for, that game was supposed to come out this fall, got delayed till early next year, and we haven't seen a single second of gameplay, like legitimate gameplay, and this is showing us almost half an hour's worth a year before it comes out. So I think it's just honestly refreshing how it's put together. It's refreshing that we even got it in the first place, that's a surprise in and of itself, and it's just looking so fluid. Look, this is a genre that's got a lot of games that is every year, right? You get a couple of these games that comes out, and they're all trying to do like their own thing. For me, what stands out, like the enemy design, I think looks freaking awesome. The fluidity, you look at the blocking that's happening, and I was trying to read some of the comments because you notice it almost immediately. The like literal one strike that an enemy does to you, you're blocking. It looks like a freaking action movie that looks so unbelievably cool. And what people, I guess, were saying in the comments is there's actually a gauge and there's a button that you can hold down that'll drain that will block basically like basic attacks. It won't block like heavy, like massive attacks, but it'll block most basic attacks, and then it'll deplete. But I do think you're able to tap it, because people thought maybe the IGN employee that was playing this was like tapping it, like block, and it's possible they could have been doing that at times, but other times you are actually able to just hold down basically one button that will drain your stamina basically and will block attacks. So that's and I mentioned that because it's honestly something that kind of stands out. When you talk about the fluidity of this game, you look at all these like special attacks and all this jumping, early on, like kicking a character or like flying a character off of, their horse, right? But you're seeing like these minute to minute, like block, strike, and all of these like almost jump attacks and these far, these long range attacks. The game's got style. It looks more fluid than your average, Soulsborne type game. Some of the bigger stuff too, kind of towards maybe like the third of the way through it, you see the first big boss, right? That copper maul, and what people are pointing out that you notice immediately as well, you actually get to use his weapon as a attack on him, right? When he swings it, and you can actually jump on it and strike. These are just little things, because to be honest with you, I think it's gonna feel familiar, and I think that, that's kind of the point when a genre is established. A lot of these games do feel very familiar, and that's okay, because it's part of a genre. But again, it's how can you make it just a little bit different than what comes before it, or just other games, so in your competition. And I think for this, again, it's that style, it's the fluidity. Think of like the first trailer we ever saw in this game, right? Like just the flashy sword techniques of whether it's striking or blocking or taking out like multiple enemies. There was early on in this, there's like a stealth takedown thing. You actually can take down both enemies, right? You take one out pretty normally, naturally, like you see in most games just in general. Walk up behind them, press a button, think it's triangle, you take them out, but they actually then do like a second move and take out the second person. So just that style, I think, is really something that stands out. But it was really cool, to see that boss and to be able to use his his moves, to do something to him, kind of build that in as like a special attack. Then the end, this is where we have seen snippets of this before. And I think, again, in terms of showing off how just a little bit different this game is, how cool with some of like the jump kicks that are happening, right? This chief disciple of the 7 stars, the multiple phases, of this boss, picking you up and throwing you, having all of the minions and attacking you, and you're able to kind of deflect them all at the same time and jumping around and dodging. I mean, I know we're literally just describing what's being shown to us, but I guess that kind of is the point. The game just looks freaking awesome. And by the way, this is coming from somebody who really doesn't have anything to gain here. This is a genre that I am not good at. It's a genre I try, I'll jump into game. There's a lot of these types of games, so I do feel like you can maybe find a couple that work for you. Like, I've played the Neos of the world and like a Mortal Shell, and to see Mortal Shell 2 actually, getting a sequel there, like that's pretty cool. Elden Ring, I played a pretty good amount of that, but I'm not good at them. I try to respect what they are, and being difficult and going into those worlds and playing it how, they're meant to be played. I'm just really no good at them, and I think for a game like this, hopefully that faster style, it almost reminds me, too, of, like, Black Myth Wukong, because Black Myth Wukong is a very stylish and very, like, bouncy type. Hopefully that's a good descriptor of that game. You're always kind of jumping around, and when you're doing your dodges and your parries and your blocks, like, you're bouncing. And I just think, for me personally, just as a player, I like that kind of more fluid thing. Like, if I had to pick between that and then you think of, like, the Demon Soul, the thing that kind of started it all, right? Demon Souls or Dark Souls or any of those. Very heavy. It's very hard for me to go into those are the games that, I've also tried all of those, but those are the games I'm the worst at. Those are the games that give me the most pain. And ultimately, to be flat out honest, I have the least fun in, because I ultimately don't make it very far in those games, and so I kind of back out of them quickly. A game like Stellar Blade, a game like Black Myth Wukong, games that have a little bit more jump to even Elden Ring, being kind of a more loose interpretation. Those are the games that I generally have more fun with. So I think Phantom Blade Zero, not necessarily made for me, but it's definitely more up my alley than other games in this genre. But again, I'm just thankful we're getting all this stuff, even though, yes, some of it's recycled footage, or we've seen some of these characters or bosses before, to get this amount of stuff like a year before. And by the way, I think at the end of this gameplay, it does say a release date is coming in 2025. So the release date, will be for next year, but they're going to give it this year. So, the talk originally was like fall of next year. It might not be. I mean, maybe this is like a May or June game, to be honest with you. I'm starting to think that's more if it's not, that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be. But I'm starting to think that's pretty possible. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.